Hello, everyone. Well, this is a pretty hard two acts to follow, so please give them, big hands. Great job. So this is my first time on stage as a storyteller, and I want to thank my kids and my wife for being brave enough being here, so I'm going to really embarrass the hell out of them. All right, so I'm taking everybody back to the mid-'80s. I'm 14 years old. I'm in Cairo, Egypt, where I was born and raised. I had me and my family to make a pretty important decision, for me, of course, at least. I was in a very strict Catholic high school. And when you hit high school, you have to take either English or French, and it becomes like your primary language, where all the other subject matter you have to study with this language. So you have to take math in this language, you have to take science, you have to take social studies, you have to take everything. Then you have to take the language itself as a language. So it was a big, big, big deal. However, I thought it was pretty easy, since a year later, my parents and I, we know that we are moving to the States. So my parents made the right decision, of course. For me, for the first primary language, of course, they let me take French. So now I have to take French. I hated this language. Something in Egypt, they felt that people that speak French are more cultured, are more, better refined people, and they're gonna do well in the future. So my parents went under this, and basically, so I took French. So I studied everything in French. So at the end of the first year in high school, I passed everything, and of course I failed French as a language. So we have a small little problem. So in Egypt, when you fail a language, you wait till the end of the year, end of the summer, and you take something called a challenge test. You have to sit for this test for a couple of hours, take the challenge test. Now, if you fail the challenge test, you have to retake the entire year with the younger class, with all the subject matter, whether you passed it or not. So this is a big, big, big deal. Failure is not acceptable in my family. I guess we have someone with a mother issue, now I have a father issue coming up, so here you go. So, all right, so failure is not an option, all right? So I have to go and take this test, the challenge test, end of the summer. So all of a sudden, my father, so let me tell you a little bit about my dad. Great guy, best father ever, all right? He was a colonel in the police department in a third world country, Egypt, right? So you guys could just make 1 + 1 = 2, colonel, all right? He is definitely by the book. I respected him greatly, and him being disappointed in me, this will be the worst thing ever. Not only that, he sat on the board of my school. So everybody knew him. He's very well connected. He's a colonel. And he was pretty easygoing guy. He was as easygoing as maybe a drill sergeant. Like, everything needed to be done by the book. And, we could not go shortcuts, nothing like that. So my father gets a call at work. My principal is calling him, telling him, well, good morning, hope everything is well. Just wanted to let you know that the challenge test had started and your son is not there. We hope all is well. At this point, my father freaked out a little bit, and he said, well, I'm going to take care of that. So he picks up the phone, he calls at home. Back then, there is no cell phone. We just had a phone at home that rang and rang and rang and rang. Summertime, beautiful weather in Egypt. I was asleep, so I didn't pick up the phone, so he calls my mom. And so let me tell you a little bit about my mom. So my mom, you could have called her Mother Teresa, because she is just the sweetest, nicest person out there. So my father started with the conversation. Since this is a G-rated show, let's just imagine this conversation as that we have the best son out there, and we need, every family should have a son just like him. So my mom jumped in a cab, and she raced home to see what's going on. My dad called again and again and again and again. And finally, he woke me up. So I pick up the phone, and of course the first question is, do you know what day it is? I'm like having a good time. It's summertime, 14 years old. I said, what, Dad, Christmas? He did not like, this is true. Actually, that part is true. He did not enjoy this that much. And he started with, you are a great son, every family needs to have a kid just like you. Then he told me, guess what? The challenge test had started in school. I said, no, Dad, I put it on my calendar. 14-year-old boy and calendars don't mix. So I ran away, I looked at my calendar, and I put the date wrong. I put it like it was a Wednesday, so I put it the following Wednesday instead of like that Wednesday. However, what was a little bit disturbing, in parentheses, I put down, since I know for today, since I know like the exam is a week later, start studying. All right, so I didn't panic yet, so I'm good. So I run down, and my mom, God bless her, Mother Teresa, now she's here. She just picked me up in a cab. Let me tell you a little bit about Cairo and Cairo traffic. So imagine Manhattan on steroid when it comes to traffic. So Cairo, it's very, very, very busy city. You have cars, you have bikes, you have buses, everything going at the same time. And now, since I'm in a Catholic school, I'm not in the neighborhood. I'm like about 20 minutes far away. So my mom is panicking, win a cab. Of course, she had to tell a perfect stranger the story and why this is going on. Of course, he gave me a dirty look, which is fine at this point. Then he started to drive like, you know, a drunken cab driver in New York City in like New Year's Eve, going like all over the speed limit. My mom is panicking. I'm still okay, but my mom is panicking. He's driving fast, no seat belt, nothing like that. He's all over the road. And my mom at one point, she said, you know what, maybe I don't want my son to panic. He's gonna go in for a test. So let's just, you know, maybe let's calm him down a little bit. So she stopped panicking and she told me, you know what? I said, yes, Mom, your dad will be okay with this. At this point, I figured out that, oh no, my dad will be waiting for me in school when I go there. Now I start to panic. All of a sudden, now we're in school. So I start running inside, knowing exactly where I'm supposed to take the test. I run in, and miraculously, I'm the first one there. So I was just, this is great, I'm here. I made it on time and no one is there. I'm gonna just sit down and take the test. So my French teacher comes in. Let me tell you a little bit about my French teacher. It's too bad this is a G-rated show and my kids are here. She had this big smile on her face all the time. She absolutely hated me for some reason. Didn't like her much, but this big smile, she came in and we started with, well, well, well. Guess who decided to show up to the test? I said, well, I'm here. Nobody's here. You know, I'm the first one here. No, the exam had ended 20 minutes ago. At this point, the school principal walks in. Again, let me tell you a little bit about my school principal. So my school principal, it's a Catholic school, very strict. He is a priest, right? But everything that he did, it's by the book. He is all about the laws and rules and regulations. So he is like, you know, a lot of people said maybe he's a father, he's a priest, and a lawyer. A lot of us called him like a father-in-law, like a lot of priest and lawyer together. It was like a very interesting mix. So anyway, he comes in and he said, you know, the exam had ended 20 minutes ago. That's it, it's over. And of course, when he's saying this, my parents, my dad, and my mom just came in. So I had the colonel, the principal, Mother Teresa, and of course, my French teacher. However, something really interesting happened, that the principal basically said, you know what, everybody's here, this has been a really, really, really stressful day, and I'm sure it helped that my father's on the board. We're gonna give you an exception, we're gonna give you a couple of hours, you're gonna take the test. So, 14 years old, sitting there by himself in the classroom, taking a test in a language that really, really, really hates, and with the, colonel on my right, my mother praying, I had the principal looking at me, and of course, my French teacher. So we'll go in for 2 hours. I thought the test was easy, truthfully speaking. I had no problem with the test. So I'm leaving, and we had, of course, the very difficult conversation in my way back is, how did you do? And of course, my answer was, piece of cake. I got this, Dad. Don't worry about it. You just had a tough start. Don't worry about it. You're going to do well. We're going to move on. We're never going to remember this story ever again. It's going to be something of history. We're not going to talk about it anymore. I'm glad Dad is not around. Okay, so anyway, he's traveling, so he's fine. A couple of days later, he's sitting in his office again, and he gets a fax from school telling him that they want to see him and my mom in the principal office. They did not mention me in the story. So they go in, and they said, well, we have his grades. And I failed so bad that my number was basically a negative number. Not only negative, it had a decimal in it. So this is how bad I did. So thank God that the following year we left and, we came to New York City. And I said, this is it. I'm going to a country that everybody speaks English. All states speaks English except Miami, but everybody else speaks English. And I'm good. I don't have to use this language anymore. I'm done. First thing we do is we apply for a high school. The advisor came in, and she looked suspiciously like my French teacher. And she started with the question of what foreign language would he would like to study. I said, I take Latin, I take Korean, I take, Spanish, I'll take anything you have. Of course, my dad has to tell her, he is very good at French. So I can't say anything to the big guy, so I said, well, yeah, I guess. He said, don't worry about it, sir. You have to sit for a test. So basically, you have to take like a quick test to see how your level is. And at this point, I smiled. I said, if anybody's going to screw up a French test, that's me. I could do this. So I sit down for this test, right? And I said, this is going to be a piece of cake. I'm going to do so horrible that I'm going to start my ABCs again. I did so well that they put me in a class with all Haitians and people speak French. And for 2 miserable years, I had to study French, and I wasn't good at it. Not only this, I took really high aggressive French, and even the teacher, she came from Paris, so she spoke to us in French. It was a very 2 long years. However, I graduated, so I went to college. I met my beautiful wife. I had my 3 wonderful kids, quote unquote. And then I promised myself, whatever I do, I'm not going to be like my dad and mom. I'm not going to tell them what language to take. However, now it's time for them to pick a language in high school. So I had to have the conversation with them. I said, okay, guys, let me share a small little story about me. And, and I start telling them about, how wonderful studying Spanish is, and, it's a great second language, and it's basically a lot of people now put a lot of use into Spanish, on and on and on. And I guess I'm a great father, and I have a great communication skills with the kids. All 3 of them took French. Not only that, my wife went and independently studied French after I shared the story with her. So, I guess there is a moral of this story. I think my dad had cursed all of you because everybody have a kid just like me. Just do me a favor. When you have a son or a daughter that have issues growing up as a teenager or a problem like this, please understand they're gonna grow out of it. And maybe one day, they're gonna be crazy enough to stand in front of perfect strangers and share the story with them. Okay, Madame et Monsieur, merci beaucoup.